Shill me coins, shill me sweet little coins. Da, 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 da. Give me gains, give me gains. Oh no, no, don't take the L. Welcome everybody to another live episode of Savage Cash. Here with me, your superhero of cryptocurrency, the Suppoman. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about blockchains. Why? Because these are arguably the most valuable type of cryptocurrency project around at the moment. What I'm going to be discussing really is what should you be measuring against to be looking at the potential opportunity for blockchain projects? How can you measure whether you're likely to maintain gains? What are the qualities that kind of differentiate just an average blockchain project from one that's potentially going to be a powerhouse and survive the cull when most cryptocurrencies die? Okay, so if you're excited to learn about what blockchains are the best, smash up the likes, and also don't forget to subscribe to Team Suppoman for a video on a daily basis. Now, let's just make sure that I'm live and everything and that you can hear me fine and all of that kind of stuff. Yes, you can. And I'm looking like I'm in a pretty nice location at the moment, but actually I'm really not. So let's give some context then. So basically the other day, if you were watching my video, if you saw what big things are coming to cryptocurrency, you will see this graph. This graph is basically the NASDAQ, which is, in other words, the kind of technology boom that we have been experiencing over the last kind of 20-25 years. So this graph kind of starts from 1974, but really where we see the growth is kind of at this point in between 1994 and 1995, where it really began growing, and then the institutional money came in, and then the bubble burst around about 2000, 2001, and then only the best really survived and subsequently thrived. So really what we're going to be talking about is why is blockchain and why are the best blockchain projects likely to survive the bubble bursting and ultimately thrive versus other types of project. Okay, now the reason I'm bringing this is because I've just put this interesting infographic on my Twitter. These are the types of cryptocurrency ICOs that you guys have been investing in 2018. And this is basically sorting it from greatest all the way along here to smallest. So what are the biggest industries people have been investing in, all the way through to the least interesting or least valuable industries, certainly perceived by the investing public. Now, as you can see, communications, finance, trading and investing, gaming and VR, commerce and advertising, payments. These are the kind of top 6 types of cryptocurrency people have been investing in 2018. But most, if not all of these, cannot thrive without this infrastructure. Without the supporting infrastructure, these dApps as it were, and these are essentially apps built on top of a blockchain to give you the breadth of services that are available to you out there, but blockchain based. Okay, so these are vital. Without this, most if not all of these cannot exist, and most if not all of these can exist. All right, so you're already seeing the inherent power and value in a blockchain. Something that's also recently come about is that Amazon have started giving blockchain templates for people to build their own services. Okay, so you can choose Ethereum-based or Hyperledger Fabric-based blockchains, and it's showing you how to deploy them. So you can see that even the biggest companies in the world getting behind blockchain. Previously, we had this anti-cryptocurrency, anti-movement stance from the centralized world. Now it looks as if they are looking to adopt blockchain. And I've been saying this constantly. I've been saying how really blockchain is the underlying technology that most of the centralized world, if they're against Bitcoin and against what it's potentially used for, dark web stuff, crime, money laundering, all that kind of stuff, they are at least in support of blockchain. So we can see the potential, we can see the context by which blockchain is valuable. But how do we analyze them? Because there are more and more. Only last week did I talk about Quark chain. And Quark Chain is introducing another plethora of different features to other blockchain projects that have come before. So how do we know what are the best? So with that in mind, what I'm going to be doing is I am going to be talking about what are the best blockchain projects for gains. What should you be looking for? Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list. If I'm honest with you, if we were to look at every single blockchain that exists right now, every single infrastructure or blockchain project, then there are almost too many to list in a particular slide. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you really what you can expect to see. So we're going to look at large cap, mid cap, small cap coins, and the innovative coins as well, ones that haven't even launched yet, and talk about why these are potential powerhouses for the future. All right, so when reading and listening to this, basically, this isn't financial advice. Don't literally invest in them just because I've talked about them or said what the potential gains are. You must use this as education for yourself and ultimately apply it to your own research and make your own decisions at the end of the day. One of the things that is most annoying when I'm in any cryptocurrency community is when I hear people say, oh, Suppoman, you said do this. Suppoman, do that. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, I don't ever say do anything. All I say is what I invested, what I like, what I'm passionate about. And typically what I'm passionate about are long-term investments. I don't do trading videos anymore. So anybody that says, oh, Suppoman, you know, you spoke about this and, you know, a week later, I'm in a loss, right? Forget it. If you're looking at the short term, you're blinkered. Basically, what I talk about tends to be the long term. And you should only really invest in things you personally believe in and are passionate about, similar to me, because that will enable you to hold. Anyway, let's have a look at the infrastructure. So the first one that we're going to look at is the large cap blockchain project. This is Aetherium. This is going to be the basis by which we are going to measure the potential for gains for other cryptocurrencies. Ethereum is currently the #1 blockchain project without a doubt. It's got the largest developer network, probably the most amount, in fact, arguably the most amount of nodes, the most experience with a publicly tested blockchain. So Ethereum has almost been the first mover. Okay, it has shown the capabilities. It's shown what you can achieve with a blockchain, but it's opened up the space for competitors. It's opened up the space for people to do a better job than Ethereum. Now, that's not to say that Ethereum is not going to be around in the future, that it's not going to power services in the future, but certainly what Ethereum has done is it has shown the potential that these blockchain projects can reach in value. So Ethereum has reached $140 billion market cap. Okay, so this is $140 billion cryptocurrency at its peak, and undoubtedly this will be surpassed again in 2018 and go well beyond 140 billion. So what we're going to look at first is what is the next best, biggest blockchain project that could be knocking on the doors, snapping at the heels of Ethereum. EOS. Now, if you were to get involved in EOS today, then if it reaches the price Ethereum has reached at its peak, that would be a 15 times gain. Now, that might look odd if you're looking at something that's late $8 or $9 and think, well, you know, Ethereum got to nearly, you know, got to $1,600 or so. You know, how can EOS, which is worth $8, be only 15 times less than Ethereum right now? And the key reason why is because of the circulating supply. Circulating supply is massive, basically. That is why it's reached just 15 times less than Ethereum. But EOS has solid foundations, a solid team. It has got initially the testing of it has been achieving at its highest rate about 6,000 transactions per second. So on a public blockchain point of view, and on a beta test, this sounds like it's certainly got legs, okay, in its early stages. All right, now this has been worked on by Dan Larimer. Dan Larimer is looking to get to, and was the first person to say 1 million transactions per second. This is why I invested in EOS about a year ago, just under a year ago. Next, we have Cardano. Now, Cardano is basically the brainchild of Charles Hoskinson. Charles Hoskinson is the former CEO of Ethereum, but with his Ethereum background, he has a lot of the expertise and knowledge of how Aetherium have gotten to where they have, and so he has created his own project, getting together one of the best fields, one of the best kind of teams of eggheads, blockchain eggheads, scientific eggheads, to build the best blockchain. This is basically Operation Kill Aetherium. Cardano are looking to put forward the best blockchain in history, and personally I think this is one of the less risky investments you can make. Now, if you were to invest in Cardano today, to get to Aetherium, it would be a 18 times gain, 20 times gain essentially. So if you're putting, 20,000, then this could turn into 400,000, roughly, So that's giving you the potential of where this can get to. All right. So although it is one of the leading, although it's one of the leading contenders to Aetherium, it also carries probably the less risk and less chances of gain. Okay, it's second only to EOS. Then we have Neo. Now, Neo has been established for quite a while now. It's been in people's peripheries for just under a year. It was Ant shares for quite a long time, but was in the cents for ages. And only recently has it gone on up to, $160 to $170 per Neo. It's since gone right down, but it's got 30 times gain potential just to get up to Aetherium. This is not looking at the future. Now, arguably, Aetherium has a 30 transactions per second performance. All right. Now, when it comes to speed, that's very low. All right. However, it has got one of the most robust infrastructures at the moment. So I guess at the cost of slow transactions, you've got the high security. Neo is 1,000 transactions per second. However, has only got a few nodes. So not necessarily as decentralized as Aetherium that has got loads and loads of nodes. However, it's still got enough nodes to not make it centralized, okay? Because it's distributed. The consensus basically has, I think, 7 or so nodes, I think has been reported. But given the, but basically where you get the benefit is the transaction speed, okay? Because there's less nodes to get to the ultimate agreement, all right? But Neo is certainly looked at kind of like the Apple of the infrastructure game, as Aetherium is more like the Windows. It came first, but it's a bit clunky, could be improved upon. So this is 30 times gain. So you can see the potential. Although this has got a high token price, this is only half the price of EOS. So don't necessarily look at the token price, look at the market cap. Then we've got Icon. Now Icon is lower down, much more ability for potential. Now, Icon is more a South Korea project. It's like uniting blockchains across South Korea. Basically, it's like almost like a one blockchain solution, one ID. You go on this blockchain and basically there is cross-chain communication. So it's communicating with a number of blocks to find out your information from different sectors so that it can unite your information in one place. So Icon were one of the first to come up with this cross-chain. Okay, one of the first to come up with cross-chain. Now, as a result, it kind of made already 115x from its ICO price. It's made a lot of the money. However, it's still got 107 times gain to get to Aetherium. That's a lot. Okay, now considering that Icon is one of the most promising, it has got a lot of projects that are going to be opened up on the platform. Okay, already they're getting working on it. So this has a lot of scope. This is already kind of live, okay? Unlike EOS and Cardano. So there's kind of more potential here because they've actually got a working product that, you're investing in rather than, an idea, really. So Icon, 107 times gain. Next, we've got Zelicah. Okay, now Zelicah is one of the first blockchain projects to introduce sharding, which is basically kind of sectioning out aspects within the blockchain. Okay, so instead of the blockchain doing one task, which is just transacting, you can shard them and basically make them do different tasks so that everything is performed a lot quicker. Okay, that is where Zelicah added value. Now, Zelicah at the moment is still low price. It's still, kind of under 500. I think it's still under $500 million as a cryptocurrency, and is 188 times gain potential in there. Now, the thing about Zelicah is now being usurped by the likes of Quark Chain. Now, Quark Chain haven't yet come out. Zelicah have come out. They've already got a public blockchain, and it's already achieving 2,377 transactions, something around about that, per second. So Quark Chain hasn't yet come out, okay? So we haven't yet seen the potential necessarily. But that has got cross-sharding, okay? And sharding is another kind of feature that we're seeing now in cryptocurrencies that are giving them value over the likes of Ethereum. And number 7, we've got high-performance blockchain. Now, this differs in terms of the architecture around the blockchain. Typically, blockchains is software, it's a database. But high-performance blockchain is a hardware and software infrastructure and is a very low-cap coin at the moment. This has been largely undervalued. If this achieved anything like what Ethereum has achieved, this would be 1,300, nearly 1,400 times gain. That is massive. So if you put $1,000, that could turn into $1.3 million. That gives you the potential for growth of an investment in high-performance blockchain. Now, why high-performance blockchain? Again, they are looking to get to 1 million transactions per second. They are also targeting the kind of Amazons, the Facebooks, the Googles. In China at the moment, they're already targeting the big data processing companies. So this has high potential for gains in the future. And it offers something different. Everything else is software. This is hardware and software. This is like a complete solution. And number 8, we have credits. Now, credits is definitely amongst the lowest end of blockchain projects or infrastructure projects right now. Now, one of the key reasons why is because this has got quite possibly the biggest stats reported so far. They are looking to achieve 10 million transactions per second. However, their code has come under fire recently from Ivan on Tech. So this was having a nice trajectory up, and that has since been stopped, and it's lost over half its value. Now, over time, they have had a couple of PR disasters. However, over time, they are basically adding to their team. They have already added somebody from IBM to their team very recently. So they are adding to the expertise. They are adding to the ability to make partnerships down the line. However, they have probably at this point the most risk because they are the lowest market cap. So if you invest in it, it has a lot less visibility than some of the higher cap coins. Some of those have the perceived value. Most of them have the perceived value because of who is in the team. Charles Hoskinson, Dan Larimer, Da Hongfei. We're seeing big names. And Credits doesn't boast any big names. They don't have like a who's who on their team. Now, for a blockchain, that would be what you were looking for. However, in the absence of that, what you have got is the ability to make massive gains should it go right. But that depends on the team, ultimately. Now, at number 9, we are going into the over and above category. Okay, so at number 9, we have got Hashgraph. Hashgraph is introducing a new level of technology, a new standard, basically. This is not blockchain. This is a different consensus method. This consensus method is already achieving 250,000 transactions per second, showing proof of concept, showing the technology works, showing it's a potential blockchain killer. Now, this is due to, certainly at private sale, to be a $45 million coin. Very, very low price. Now, it's very difficult to get into. I personally have not, individually got an invite to take part in this. So this has the potential for 3,111 times gain. That means 1,000. If it was to achieve Ethereum size, $1,000 would be 3.1 million. Insane in the membrane. Now, personally speaking, based on what I know, and based on the evolution of this space, look at IOTA with Tangle. this has had no end of bad press. However, the Tangle is looked at as one of the best infrastructures for the Internet of Things. And so this is already a very high performing cryptocurrency. It's already in the top 15. Higher than that. Okay, just purely on the Tangle technology and the promise of it delivering something big in the future. So Hashgraph has every potential to be in the top 5, if not the top 3, behind Aetherium. So I can see this being a massive project, just purely on how the consensus algorithm works, how quickly it's already been shown to achieve, plus the fact it's not open source. The fact it's patented technology, which means that people have to get permission to operate their cryptocurrency or their DApp on Hashgraph. Which means if anybody wanted to create a similar technology, they would have to get permission from Hashgraph. Now, what I like about that, because open source is great for innovation, it's great for more developers, it's great for a bigger community. Hashgraph don't have that. However, what they do have is exclusivity. They're almost saying, we're going to pick and choose. Okay, so we don't have any CryptoKitty kind of episodes where, you know, all of a sudden a DApp was made we didn't know about and it clogged up our network. No, we want to have full say-so. So although there's a little bit of, almost a bit of a centralization involved in this, this has got high capability of being a disruptor in infrastructure. This, look, Aetherium was first mover for blockchain. Now, every other one that you see in this list are now blockchain competition. Hashgraph is essentially going to be the first mover for Hashgraph technology. And then we may not be talking about blockchain necessarily so much, because if Hashgraph show to be working very well, then they can sign exclusive agreements with big organizations and make Hashgraph massive. So I think Hashgraph have amazing potential in the future. Lastly, Neurochain. Neurochain adds artificial intelligence to the whole scenario. So artificial intelligence are essentially robots, okay, where you teach them, you feed them data, lots more data. The more data you feed them, the better they operate. And Neurochain is basically almost going to be able to have their robots learning constantly. So, you know, unlike other blockchains where, you know, they basically just have these miners that are providing the consensus, Neuro is having better performance being created all the time. So although it may start maybe being clunky, maybe slow to learn, and maybe slow in terms of the transactions, over time they are going to get much faster because the bots are going to learn from their mistakes and be a lot better. And this has already got some European government backing. So that gives you an indication of what the AI-based blockchains are likely to bring in the future. AI is getting a lot of government backing, like Invartio has shown. They've got United Nations backing, and some government officials have been backing it. So you can see the potential with these infrastructures for gains to get where Aetherium is, and basically Aetherium is the first mover here, and they are almost the clunky version, the most secure but the less speedy blockchain out of every single one in this list. So it shows you the potential for gains, and it shows you where potentially your money is safer, because without infrastructures you don't have DApps. So what should you be looking for? Let's look at the important points. So processing speed is arguably going to be one of the number one reasons why a particular blockchain thrives. Okay, because when you look at how Aetherium was performing under the CryptoKitties kind of reign, you could see that it took a long time for transactions to go through. It took half an hour to an hour, 2 hours in some cases, and actually for CryptoKitties, some transactions didn't happen ever. Okay, they still sit in processing, which just goes to show that without the processing speed, you don't have the ability to bring the wider world into cryptocurrency, put it on the blockchain and have it work just as fast, okay? Because you're putting, what blockchain is essentially almost like a facilitator. It's a facilitator of services, okay? It's a facilitator of being able to pay for something to get something back, the smart contract aspect of cryptocurrency. So you want whatever you are putting your money in to transact quickly, okay, or whatever you are making an action in to perform quickly. So processing speed has not been the biggest kind of selling point, but it is becoming that way because as more big organizations like Google, Facebook, and all that lot come to the blockchain, they want the speed because they have already got high processing amounts. And this is already covered by their servers. So how on earth are they going to get things on the blockchain and happening efficiently? So what we are seeing now, in order to improve processing speed, is sharding, asynchronous processing, off-chain, on-chain solutions. So, on the block and also off the block. So microtransactions. We've also got side chains or root chains as well, stem chains, which are basically where you have most of the activity happening, where you've got basically leverage in the blockchain to make sure that processing happens and it's load balancing. Okay, so processing speed is going to become more and more important in the future, and this is probably the #1 metric. Now for Visa, this is 65,000 transactions per second. So does it really need to be more than that when Visa probably need the highest amount of processing time? Probably not. But the bigger the number, the greater the scale. The greater the ability to be able to put your business and never have to worry about a CryptoKitties incident happening. Then you've got security. This is where the nodes and the mining method comes in. Okay, so the security, this is making sure that your money does transact. This is making sure that you are buying and you are getting something in return for it. Okay, and this is also when you are buying something, you are having the consensus. All right, so with the consensus, if you've got a large amount of random nodes that are agreeing that a transaction happened and preventing double spend, this is the secure method. The more nodes you have, the more secure it is. And also the mining method. Proof of work is arguably the most robust mining method. Okay, because it's harder. Okay, it's much harder to actually create Bitcoin from mining, okay, with these mining algorithms. So that gives it a level of protection for the cryptocurrency to be mined, makes it a lot harder. Therefore, it's going to take a long time before the rest of the supply of Bitcoin comes out. So security is big because ultimately, if you're moving $1 million into cryptocurrency, you want to have the security you're going to get the cryptocurrency back and don't lose it in translation. So security is big. This has probably been the biggest reason why Ethereum continues to dominate, because they've got the security. They've got the amount of nodes to make this, to give it robustness, to give the blockchain robustness, and to give it the security that's needed to allow the transacting of value. All right. So yeah, so security. This is big. These are the two biggest. Then you've got cost. Okay, so what businesses are ideally looking for is for free or low cost transactions. Okay, because the last thing that you want to do is have to take a chunk out of the customer's balance for a transaction. And this also gives better customer experience as well. So if you've got low or free transactions, then this means that customers are much more likely to use that blockchain for transactions because they are going to have to pay less in a transaction fee. Also, when it comes to cryptocurrencies actually producing dApps and using, let's say, the Ethereum blockchain, ideally, they shouldn't have to pay rent. Okay, it's a bit like servers. Okay, so if you've got a website, you're running a website, you need a server. You need to pay for that server. Ethereum are looking to add almost rental charges so that you use their service. This, I think, is a mistake. This is going to open it out to those that offer low cost or no cost rent and low cost or no cost transactions. So if you have transactions down to a minimum, more people will use and there will be less fees having to be paid. Then we've got, have they got evolution built in? Okay, so have they got the ability to expand upon blockchain rather than have to hard fork it to put more features in? Okay, so if it's multi-layered like Cardano, then it doesn't have to be hard forked. It can just be expanded upon within the existing kind of layers. So they've got a number of layers. They've got a computing layer, an accounting layer, a dApp layer, a settlement. Well, I think settlement and accounting layer are the same. So having this multi-layered system means that they can expand because they have already built it in the blockchain. Then we've also got the cross-chain. This enables apps or dApps to run on multiple blockchains. And this is where cross-chain interoperability comes in, and where a lot of these, like WAN chain, for instance, coming in, and WAN chain is potential 200x if you look at the previous slide. And then we've got AI. The more that the bots learn and the better, quicker they agree, the more high performing a blockchain it will be. Accessibility. So at the moment, Ethereum seems to have the highest developer network. They've got the most developers building dApps on their blockchain. This gives them the value. This is why the value keeps going up and up. Every time an ICO is released, it's pretty much an ERC20 token, which means it's been built on Ethereum. So this gives Ethereum a lot of value because it's powered the biggest and best dApps like Power Ledger that you see currently. Okay, and the developers, the developers are used to programming for Ethereum. So what other blockchains need to do is make sure they come up with programming language that are easy for developers. Now, decent developers, not talking about every developer, because if I was to develop, I'd probably know just like one language and just get versed in that. But actual programmers are really good with development. They know quite a few languages. So they can pretty much go to other, they can go to other blockchains and program dApps for those blockchains. Okay, so there needs to be an accessible programming language to do that, and it needs to have that robustness to be able to build a decent dApp on one of these blockchains. If they're using a programming language no one uses, it's less likely to build a big developer network. The developers is what gives Ethereum a lot of value. So if we've got a blockchain that's got an accessible development language, it's going to have more developers and give it more value. And this is what's happening with Neo right now. The developer network is growing astronomically. And EOS are looking to build their developer network too. And then lastly, open source. If it's open source, it will get higher adoption. Higher adoption leads to blockchain thriving, cryptocurrency thriving, the conversion of people into cryptocurrency from the norms, the norms coming into cryptocurrency, plus more usage. More blockchains will be used if the open source technology is distributed out to more people, like the likes of Power Ledger. It's going to be opened out to hundreds or thousands of customers all across the globe, and they are going to be using an Ethereum-based app basically. So that gives it the value. So if there are blockchains that aren't just necessarily fast with transactions, but actually have an open source software that's easy to get developers making dApps, and they are more commonly used, then this is what's going to build the value. So I hope that this has given a lot of important points as to what you need to be considering when you are looking at blockchain projects, because blockchains are arguably the most valuable cryptocurrencies to invest in, today and certainly for the future. Think of this like the .com boom, and think of it like the app boom. Okay, so when it comes to let's say the .com boom, okay, you had the search engine Yahoo. Okay, Yahoo was buying everything in sight because Yahoo was the #1 search engine at that time, and they were the first they were the first to be globally acknowledged as the #1 social network, as the #1 search network. And they thought that they probably couldn't get knocked off their perch. And then guess who came along? Google. And it was the same with Microsoft. Apple came along. Well, to be honest, Apple predated Microsoft, but we won't get into that. But the fact of the matter is that just because you're first mover doesn't mean you're going to be the last mover. Okay, the first movers do get usurped. Yahoo got usurped by Google. Ethereum could get usurped by Cardano, EOS, and if and any of those projects really. But it's all about how they deal with all of these important points. Do they give enough value for developers and for other people to use their apps? Are they quick enough, secure enough to be used on a long-term basis? If they can, then these could usurp Ethereum. On the other side of the equation, Ethereum themselves could actually evolve as well. They are looking to be evolving with Casper coming soon, and this is going to give greater speed and scale as well to the Ethereum blockchain. But the fact of the matter is just because you're a first mover doesn't mean that you dominate the space. So it can mean that these gains can be achieved, certainly in the short and medium term. Now, if we're talking long term after the bubble, then I think only a few of these are going to survive. Which ones? Well, all depends on implementation. So that is that for today's look into blockchain projects. So before I go, let's have a look and see if there are any questiones, see if there's anything that I can answer for you peeps. Hopefully I have been loud and you can hear me all the way through this. Yeah, I believe you can. Right, so let's see what you guys say. By the way, guys, smash up ye old likes. Smash up ye old likes. There's only 383 likes, 1,500 people watching, so smash them up. And let's see what you guys are saying. Thanks to Barry, once again, for your happy birthday. Yeah, I mean, there's loads. There's Nulls, there's Yggdrasil, there's Ontology. There's tons. You know, I can't get them all into one slide. I mean, at the end of the day, what you need to look at is well, what's like the most similar to another blockchain project. Like, for instance, OneChain and Icon, very similar. You know, Yggdrasil and Yggdrasil Quark Chain are quite similar as well. So, you know, there are almost very similar aspects that you can think, right, okay, well, in terms of market cap and in terms of features, they're quite similar. What do you think of Switch.io? I've not used Switch.io. I know it's like a decentralized exchange, but personally speaking, I think that Aetherium's going to come along and it's going to knock them off their perch. Credits I've spoken about already. Neurochain Hashgraph are in ICO stages. Yes, they're still not live yet. They are still not live, but they have got market caps, so you can at least see where they can grow from. Hey, Wendy, good to see you. Blockchain Summit. Look at that. Look at that for synchronicity there. What do you think of Dent? I have reviewed Dent. I think Dent, you know, as a solution for basically selling your bandwidth is a good idea. Selling your data and bandwidth. Quark Chain is a beast. But they have been very selective at private sale. I didn't get into private sale. I did talk about them, like I said I would, not caring literally if, you know, I get a piece or not. I do think it's a great opportunity. And it is going to be available at ICO. So it just means that you probably can't get a huge amount. A bit like with credits. You couldn't really get a large amount. And same with Yggdrasil. You can only get like 10 Ethereum worth. Anything else? Karan! Karan is here. Karan I met in Amsterdam. By the way, Amsterdam was bloody epic, guys. It was just, I didn't expect, you know, to be, see lots of people knowing me. You know, where I'm from, I could pretty much walk up and down the street. No one gives a toss. No one knows who I am. No one cares. I'm just like kind of, you know, I'm just anybody, right? But you go to the blockchain event and pretty much everyone knows me. And it was really nice. It was really nice. Oh, Wick's here. I left you a message, didn't I, Wick? Oh, Lisa's here, of course. Yeah, OneChain is a lot like Icon, and that's a 200 potential 200 gainer. And oh, Christine's here too. Dazfire is here. Oh, everyone cares who Suppoman is. Thank you. Like that. Hi, Superman, looking slick today. I'm actually boiling. You know, the weather is extremely hot today, and I seem to find that there is almost like a link between hot weather and prices going up. So, you know, so there we are. There we are of the Marble Arch. Thank you, Henry, for your contributions. I really appreciate it. I love Lola. Really? That's your name? That's hilarious. Where are you today? Just at home. Just at home. Back to normal. Back to ye old normality. But it is goddamn warm. Not as warm as it was last week, but it is still warm. Are Zibbles back? Well, they're certainly back temporarily. But cryptocurrency, you know, the market hasn't really been able to go much over 9,000. When it goes a bit over 9,000, it gets sold straight away. Almost shorted. So I don't know if those who bought down here are going to sell it back down, or if this is going to be a continuous momentum. Okay, so again, I'm not 100% sure. I'm personally not buying. Like I've said, and will say time and time again, the time to do your buying is during the bear market. Because the last thing you want to do is to buy when it goes up all of a sudden like this. The price was down forever. Okay, so, you know, the time to buy was around here. Now is the time to sit back and watch, essentially. And if it goes down again, perfect, buy again. So I hope that you all got into, you know, certainly positions that you're happy with, etc. Verge price prediction. Well, it's a pump and dump coin, really. I mean, they've done a good thing. The way they've marketed themselves, their marketing is on point. When I was in Amsterdam, I met with somebody who worked for Verge, and he was just so cool, man. He was exactly the kind of guy I expected to work for Verge marketing. I've got to say, he was exactly like that. So, you know, so Verge are excellent at marketing, okay, which is why they're probably one of the best pump and dump coins, because a lot of people buy the rumour, sell the news, and they're great at announcements. You know, kind of Neo League, in fact, sometimes if not better than Neo. So, you know, who knows? Who knows about the future? You know, but ultimately, I think over the course of time, it's just going to keep on going up and up and up. And the fact that they have got kind of potential mass market adoption, although nobody really pays for that stuff. I mean, let's face it, you know, a lot of people, you know, amateur stuff's pretty good, really. Well, not in my personal opinion, but I don't watch it. But from what I've heard, you know, it's good enough that people don't need to pay for it. So, you know, is it going to rocket from this position? Probably not a massive amount, but progressively it will go up. Is PO8WH3D even still around? I don't know. I've looked at Origin Trail before. Komodo I've looked at before. Komodo is essentially customizable blockchains. U-Network I'm going to be taking a look at some point. Love you too, IHAB. Good to see you. My dog's name is Lola. It was a show dog. Right. Can't wait for the real ball. I think when the real ball comes, it's gonna be hyper accelerated growth. I mean, look at this trajectory. I mean, if it was to continue, looking at this trajectory, we get up to like 19,000 by mid-June. Okay, so, you know, that's relatively a great trajectory. However, if we went on the kind of current trajectory, which is probably more there up here, going up that way, then you never know, you could reach it a lot earlier. Okay, I think that consensus, which happens around about this point, could actually cause like a catalyst, be like a catalyst in the market, make it accelerate quicker. So we'll just have to wait and see. But, you know, there's a whole number of scenarios that can occur from this point. It could go up to 9,000, can go down to 6,000. So, you know, you're just going to have to watch for it. Anyway, June's here too. Good to see you. Crypto Chick is here as well. It's almost like everyone is in this stream. Thank you all for joining. Make sure you smash up ye old likes. Barry's going to be at Consensus. I may be at Consensus. Next month's going to be quite a busy one. I'm already going to Dubai. I'm not sure about going to New York as well, but it could very well be a very busy month for me. So, but Consensus, I mean, so much is going to be happening. 540 likes, peeps, just not good enough. Smash up your likes on the way out. But I think I've taken enough questions. But I think what the main point of this really is to acknowledge is that blockchains and infrastructures are where the future is going. It certainly looks to be where the big organizations are going and what they are going to be looking to flog. And I think that really it's going to be kept within cryptocurrency projects where the value is going to be. You can have big organizations like Google making their own blockchain and all this crap, right? But the fact of the matter is that it's going to be centralized. If you have a cryptocurrency project that has brought this out like an ADA, that has already got a cryptocurrency layer, cryptocurrency token attached to the blockchain, then you have got more of a decentralized network, and that is where the future is. So if you've got big organizations getting into the blockchain space, so what? If Facebook bring out their own blockchain, so what? It may have the level of trust from certain people that aren't in the cryptocurrency game and think, well, I know Facebook, but I don't know Bitcoin, so I'll probably go with this Facebook option. No. The decentralization, which is ultimately what's going to make this whole market thrive and take power away from authorities, is where the magic is. So that is the type of blockchain you need to be looking at. Bab token, I haven't looked at it too much, so may have a look at it another time. Anyway, make sure you smash up yield likes, peeps. Smash them up, and I'll see you next time. I'll try not to make it too long between now and the next time you see me. So, till next time, peeps, it is lights out, all out. Na 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 na.